December 1991. The parking lot stretches like an asphalt ocean under sodium lights, packed with Buicks and station wagons still warm from the drive. Inside, fluorescent tubes hum their electric psalm above aisles that seem to extend toward infinity. A blue light begins to rotate somewhere near housewares, casting its hypnotic glow across linoleum floors, polished to a dull sheen by a million shopping carts. The speaker crackles. Attention, Kmart shoppers. The voice is familiar, almost maternal. Around the store, heads turn like synchronized swimmers toward the beacon. In 15 minutes, towels will be 40% off. In 15 minutes, suburban America will perform its evening ritual. This is Kmart in its prime. 2,286 stores spreading across every state, generating $27 billion annually, employing 370,000 souls. An empire built on linoleum and discount dreams. The second largest retailer on earth. But empires do not announce their deaths. They whisper them in quarterly reports no one reads. While customers chase that rotating beacon through the maze of merchandise, while cashiers smile and bag purchases with mechanical precision, while shareholders toast another profitable year, something fundamental has already broken. The cancer is not in the stores. It is in the boardrooms, in the strategies, in the arrogance of men who believed that what worked yesterday must work forever. The beacon still spins tonight, casting its siren call across the aisles. But if you listen carefully, beneath the muzak and the scanner beeps and the shuffle of feet, you can hear it, the death rattle of a giant too large to know it is already dying. This is not a story about retail. This is an autopsy of American ambition. Detroit, Michigan. The 19th century is dying when Sebastian Kresge stands behind a wooden counter in a storefront barely wider than a hallway, counting pennies with the devotion of a monk counting prayers. His entire inventory could fit in a modern bedroom. Everything costs 5 cents or 10 cents, nothing more. This is not a business model. This is a religion. Kresge believes that dignity should be affordable, that the working man's dollar should stretch far enough to clothe his children, to bring home something small that makes his wife smile, to participate in the commerce of being human without the burden of debt. Sebastian Kresge was born during Reconstruction, the son of a Pennsylvania farmer who worked soil that gave grudgingly. Young Sebastian knew poverty intimately, not the romantic poverty of literature, but the grinding kind that makes children go to bed hungry and mothers cry quietly in root cellars. At 16, he left the farm with $8 in his pocket and a hunger that would never be satisfied. He worked as a traveling salesman, peddling cheap goods from town to town, sleeping in boarding houses that smelled of cabbage and unwashed men. He learned that America was full of people like his parents, people who worked brutally hard for little money, people who deserved better than what they could afford. The five and dime concept was not new when Kresge encountered it. F.W. Woolworth had already proven the model, but Kresge possessed something Woolworth did not, a hunger that transcended mere profit, a vision of expansion so relentless it bordered on obsession. He saved enough to buy a partnership in a Memphis store, then bought out his partner, then opened his own location in Detroit as the new century arrived. The city was exploding with the automobile industry. Ford's factories were swallowing immigrants and farm boys, turning them into assembly line workers with paychecks. These men needed cheap goods: socks, work gloves, tobacco, candy for their children, ribbons for their wives. Kresge's store became their supply depot. The wooden floors creaked under constant foot traffic. The shelves emptied and refilled daily. The cash register rang from opening until closing. This was the seed from which an empire would grow. He opened a second store, then a fifth, then a 10th. Each location was a clone of the original. Same merchandise, same prices, same wooden counters, polished smooth by countless hands, laying down nickels and dimes. By the time Woodrow Wilson was president, there were 85 SS. Kresge stores scattered across America's industrial cities. By the Jazz Age, over 200. The expansion was methodical, almost mechanical. Kresge did not believe in debt. He opened new stores only when he had cash to pay for them. This made growth slower than his competitors, but it made the foundation unshakable. Walk into a Kresge store when Herbert Hoover is in the White House and you smell possibility. Talcum powder and fresh fabric, rubber and candy, the scent of newness made accessible. The merchandise is arranged on simple wooden tables and shelves. No elaborate displays, no advertising posters. Just goods and prices. A woman can buy a spool of thread for 5 cents. A man can buy a hammer for 10 cents. A child can buy a piece of candy for a penny if the clerk is kind. The stores are not beautiful. They are cramped and dim, lit by bulbs that cast harsh shadows. But they are clean. Kresge insists on cleanliness. Floors swept twice daily, counters wiped constantly, windows washed weekly. Poverty may be his customer's reality, but squalor will not be his store's identity. The depression should have killed him, should have shuttered every door and left him bankrupt, like 10,000 other retailers drowning when banks collapsed and factories closed. Instead, Kresge thrives. When wallets empty and breadlines form, his stores become lifelines. 5 cents can still buy something. 10 cents can still provide. While men sell apples on street corners and families lose their homes, SS Kresge proves that poverty has its own economy, and he has built the perfect infrastructure to serve it. Sales actually increase during the worst years. Desperate people need cheap goods more than prosperous people do. His stores become sanctuaries where a dime still has power. By the time Pearl Harbor burns, there are 682 SS Kresge stores employing over 20,000 people. Sebastian Spearing. Kresge himself is a millionaire many times over, though he lives modestly in a small house and drives a used car. He gives millions to charity, building hospitals and funding universities, but he never forgets the farm in Pennsylvania, never forgets going to bed hungry, never forgets his mother's tears in the root cellar. His wealth is built on serving the poor, and he never allows himself to become so rich that he forgets them. The post-war boom arrives with a prosperity that Kresge does not entirely trust. Veterans are buying houses with government loans. Suburbs are spreading like slow explosions around every major city. Families are moving from cramped urban apartments to ranch houses with yards and garages. They drive cars now, not streetcars. They shop differently. They want bigger stores, more parking, greater selection. The five and dime model that served Kresge so well for 50 years is becoming obsolete. He sees it happening but cannot stop it, cannot change the fundamental architecture of his business. He is in his 80s now, too old to reinvent himself, too stubborn to admit his era is ending. By the time Eisenhower leaves office, there are over 800 SS Kresge stores, but the growth has stalled. Sales are flat. Younger competitors are experimenting with new formats: self-service, shopping carts, wider aisles. Sebastian Spearing Kresge dies during Lyndon Johnson's presidency at the age of 99, one of the richest men in America. His funeral is attended by thousands. The newspapers call him a titan of retail, a visionary, a philanthropist. But the company that bears his name is already transforming into something he would not recognize. Because while Kresge is still alive but no longer in control, his executives make a decision that will define the next 4 decades. They open an experimental store in Garden City, Michigan, a suburb of Detroit. The store is not called SS Kresge. It is called Kmart. The K is sharp, modern. The name fits on a sign visible from the highway. The year is 1962. The same year, Sam Walton opens his first Walmart in Arkansas. The same year, Target debuts in Minnesota. 3 stores, 3 companies, 3 visions of discount retail. One will dominate, one will find a profitable niche, one will die. The Garden City Kmart is enormous by the standards of its time. 73,000 square feet, parking for 500 cars. The interior is a cathedral of commerce. Wide aisles, high ceilings, bright overhead lighting that makes everything visible. Shopping carts that glide smoothly across tile. The merchandise is no longer constrained by the 5 and dime philosophy. Kmart sells everything: clothing, electronics, automotive supplies, garden equipment, toys, pharmaceuticals, housewares. The prices are low, but not rock bottom. The quality is acceptable, but not exceptional. This is the grand compromise, the sweet spot between Woolworth's cramped aisles and department stores' inflated prices. The response is immediate and overwhelming. The Garden City location does more business in its first month than any SS Kresge store has ever done in a year. Families drive from miles away to experience this new concept. Mothers bring their children and spend hours wandering the aisles, marveling at the selection. Fathers buy power tools and lawnmowers without feeling embarrassed about the prices. Teenagers get their first jobs as cashiers and stock clerks, earning $1.25 an hour. The store is not just successful, it is a phenomenon. Kmart's executives see the future, and they commit to it completely. 18 more Kmarts open the following year, 38 the year after, 62 the year after that. By the time the Beatles break up, there are 162 Kmart stores, and the number is accelerating exponentially. The old SS Kresge stores are kept open but receive no investment. They are allowed to age while all capital flows toward Kmart expansion. The strategy is ruthlessly clear. The future belongs to big box discount retail, and Kmart will dominate that future. What Kmart understands, what its architects have grasped with almost prophetic clarity, is that suburbia is not just a place. It is a lifestyle. It is mothers in station wagons with children in the back seat, schedules packed with Little League and Girl Scouts and PTA meetings. It is fathers who work 40-hour weeks and mow lawns on Saturday. It is the grinding machinery of middle-class aspiration that requires constant feeding, clothing for growing children, supplies for home improvement projects, toys for birthdays, garden hoses, bathroom towels, fishing rods, Halloween decorations, the infinite small needs that accumulate in a house with a garage and a backyard. Kmart becomes the answer to these needs. One stop, ample parking, prices that do not require justification to a spouse. By the time Nixon resigns, there are over 500 Kmart stores. The expansion is volcanic. Every successful store births 3 more. Real estate developers actively court Kmart, offering prime suburban locations because a Kmart draws traffic, and traffic draws other businesses. Strip malls form around Kmart like planets around a sun. The local 5 and dime stores that Sebastian Sparing Kresge once competed with are going extinct. They cannot match the selection or prices. They cannot afford the real estate or the inventory. One by one, they close. Their owners, men in their 60s who ran family businesses for decades, lock the doors for the last time and retire to warmer climates, bitter about the changing world. The stores themselves are monuments to utilitarian efficiency. Dropped ceilings hide ductwork and wiring. Tile flooring in beige and brown and red spreads across vast expanses. Metal shelving units stretch in rows that seem to extend beyond the horizon. The color scheme is red and white and beige, occasionally punctuated by promotional displays in cardboard and plastic. Nothing is beautiful, but nothing needs to be. Kmart is not selling aesthetics. It is selling access, abundance, the ability to walk in with a list and walk out with everything on it for less than you would pay elsewhere. The merchandise itself is a cross-section of American consumer culture during the bicentennial years. Polyester clothing in earth tones, plastic toys that will break within weeks, kitchen appliances in harvest gold and avocado green, fishing tackle, automotive oil, garden seeds, costume jewelry, makeup, greeting cards, light bulbs, extension cords. The products are not premium, but they function. A Kmart toaster may not last 10 years, but it toasts bread reliably for the 3 years most families keep appliances anyway. A Kmart jacket may not be fashionable, but it keeps a child warm through a Michigan winter. This is the essence of the value proposition. Good enough at a price you can afford. The employees are drawn from the same suburbs the stores serve. High school students working part-time after school. Mothers returning to the workforce after their children start school. Retirees looking for supplemental income. The pay is minimum wage or slightly above. The benefits are minimal. The work is repetitive and physically demanding. Cashiers stand for 8-hour shifts, scanning items and making change with aching feet. Stock clerks unload trucks and shelve merchandise until their backs scream. Department managers deal with customer complaints and inventory discrepancies and the constant pressure to meet sales quotas. But the jobs are available and accessible. You do not need a college degree to work at Kmart. You do not need experience. You just need to show up on time and follow instructions. For many teenagers during the Carter and Reagan years, Kmart is their first exposure to the adult world of labor. They learn to operate cash registers and interact with customers. They learn that work is mostly tedious and occasionally difficult. They learn that a paycheck feels good even when it is small. They spend their breaks in windowless rooms with vending machines and motivational posters, trading gossip and complaints. They steal small items sometimes, a candy bar, a magazine. The management knows this happens and factors it into shrinkage calculations. As long as the theft stays minor, it is cheaper to absorb the loss than to implement draconian security measures. The culture inside Kmart during these years is distinctly working class. There is no pretension, no corporate jargon about empowerment or excellence. The job is simple. Sell merchandise. Keep the shelves full. Keep the customers happy enough that they return. The store managers are former cashiers or stock clerks who worked their way up through seniority and competence. They know every department because they have worked every department. They know how to handle difficult customers because they have been yelled at by thousands of them. They know which employees are reliable and which ones will quit after 2 weeks. The relationship between management and workers is not warm, but it is functional. Both sides understand the transaction. Labor for wages. Nothing more, nothing less. When Jimmy Carter is still president, Kmart achieves what seemed impossible a decade earlier. It surpasses F.W. Woolworth, the company that invented the five and dime model, to become the second-largest retailer in America. Only Sears stands larger, and Sears is an institution, a catalog empire with roots reaching back to the Gilded Age. But Kmart is younger, hungrier, more aligned with the suburban sprawl that is remaking America's landscape. The stock price climbs steadily. Investors are rewarded with dividends and splits. The executives in Troy, Michigan, toast their success at country clubs and buy vacation homes. The future appears limitless. And then something beautiful happens, something that will define Kmart in the cultural memory forever. A store manager in Fort Lauderdale, desperate to move excess inventory, puts a flashing blue police light on a pole and announces a surprise 15-minute sale over the intercom. The response is immediate and primal. Customers swarm the beacon like moths, buying out the discounted merchandise in minutes. The manager reports the success to regional headquarters. The regional director suggests other stores try it. The idea spreads like a virus. Within months, surprise sales are happening in Kmarts across the country. Within a year, the practice is standardized and formalized. The blue light special is born. The mechanics are simple but psychologically sophisticated. At random intervals throughout the day, a blue police light mounted on a wheeled pole is positioned in a specific department. The intercom crackles to life. The announcement creates urgency, scarcity, the psychological trigger that makes people buy, not because they need something, but because they might miss their chance. Customers interrupt their shopping and rush toward the beacon. They grab items they had no intention of buying. They feel the small thrill of victory when they secure a deal. They tell their friends and family about the bargain they caught. Word spreads. People begin timing their shopping trips to increase their chances of encountering one of these surprise sales. This is the first appearance of our leitmotif, the rotating beacon in its glory days, spinning above crowds of eager shoppers, promising deals, delivering small victories in the form of discounted towels and half-price kitchen appliances. The light is magic. The light is possibility. The light is Kmart's soul made visible. It becomes part of American vernacular. Saturday Night Live parodies it. Comedians reference it in routines. Children beg their parents to take them to Kmart just to see if they can catch one of these legendary sales. The phenomenon transcends marketing. It becomes culture. By the time the Berlin Wall falls, Kmart operates over 2,000 stores. Sales exceed $23 billion annually. 340,000 employees wear the uniform and punch time clocks. The company's real estate portfolio is worth billions. The brand recognition is nearly universal. Ask any American, and they will have an opinion. They shop there regularly. They worked there as teenagers. They caught a legendary sale once that saved them $30 on bath towels. Kmart is woven into the fabric of suburban American life as thoroughly as Little League and backyard barbecues. But foundations are cracking that no one sees because everyone is looking at the sales figures. The stores are aging without renovation. A location built when Nixon was president looks exactly the same when the first Bush is in the White House. The same dropped ceiling tiles, now stained by roof leak. The same flooring, now cracked and peeling at the seams. The same metal shelving, now rusting at the corners. The bathrooms smell like industrial cleaner and mildew. The air conditioning struggles in summer. The heating is inadequate in winter. The merchandise selection is growing stale. The clothing racks display the same styles year after year. The toy department sells the same brands in slightly different packages. There is no innovation, no excitement. Just the slow grind of maintaining inventory and moving product. The logistics infrastructure, built rapidly during the expansion years, is becoming a nightmare. Kmart's distribution system is primitive compared to what is possible with modern technology. Inventory tracking is done manually or with outdated computer systems that cannot communicate with each other. A store in California has no way of knowing what inventory levels look like in a warehouse in Ohio. Orders are placed by phone or fax. Shipments arrive unpredictably. The result is constant imbalance. Some products are overstocked, gathering dust in back rooms and tying up capital. Other products are perpetually out of stock, frustrating customers and losing sales. The company knows this is a problem. Consultants are hired, reports are written, committees form, but the solutions require massive capital investment in technology and infrastructure. The kind of investment that would hurt quarterly earnings. The kind of investment Wall Street would punish. And in Bentonville, Arkansas, something is growing in the shadows. Walmart. Sam Walton's experiment in ruthless efficiency. While Kmart focused on suburban markets near major cities, Walmart built its empire in small towns and rural areas, perfecting a supply chain so lean and responsive it could strangle competitors through sheer operational superiority. Walmart stores are not glamorous. They are warehouse-like buildings with concrete floors and industrial shelving. But behind the scenes, Walmart is investing billions in technology. Barcode scanners at every checkout, satellite communication systems linking stores to headquarters to distribution centers, proprietary software that tracks every item in real time and automatically generates reorders, relationships with suppliers so tightly managed that Walmart can dictate terms and prices. By the mid-80s, Walmart has 882 stores to Kmart's 2,173, but Walmart's sales per square foot are higher. Their inventory turnover is faster. Their profit margins are better. Sam Walton is obsessed with efficiency in ways Kmart's executives are not. He visits stores constantly, interrogating managers about why shelves are empty or why a particular product is not moving. He demands data, metrics, evidence. He does not trust intuition or experience. He trusts numbers, and the numbers tell him that Walmart is building something unprecedented, a retail machine so finely tuned that it will be impossible to compete with on price or selection. Kmart's executives notice Walmart, but do not panic. They have the market share, the name recognition, the established footprint. Walmart is a regional player, they tell themselves, a niche operator serving markets Kmart does not even want. Rural towns with populations under 10,000, farm communities, small cities in the South and Midwest. These are not the affluent suburbs where Kmart thrives. Walmart can have them. The assumption is comfortable, dangerous, like ignoring chest pains because you ran a marathon 5 years ago. The calendar turns. 1990 arrives. The unthinkable happens. Walmart surpasses Kmart in total sales, $32 billion to Kmart's $30 billion. The news sends shockwaves through headquarters in Troy, Michigan. How did this happen? How did a company younger and less established overtake the giant? The executives gather in conference rooms and demand answers. The analysts present their findings. Walmart is more efficient, their costs are lower, their prices are better, their stores are newer, their employees are better trained, their technology is a decade ahead. The conclusion is inescapable. Kmart has been outmaneuvered at every level. The response is panic disguised as strategy. Instead of addressing fundamental operational weaknesses, they chase diversification. Pay less. Drugstores. Northwest is acquired. Walden Books. Builders. Square, a home improvement chain. The Sports Authority. Office Max. The logic seems sound on paper. If Kmart cannot beat Walmart at discount retail, perhaps it can build an empire of specialty formats. Each acquisition costs hundreds of millions of dollars. Each one requires management attention and capital investment. Each one dilutes focus from the core Kmart business that is slowly bleeding market share to Walmart and Target. Target is the third member of what is becoming a retail war. Founded the same year as Kmart and Walmart, Target positioned itself as the upscale discount retailer. Their stores are cleaner and brighter. Their merchandise includes designer collaborations and trend-conscious items. Their advertising is clever and design-forward. Target attracts customers who want low prices, but also style. People who would be embarrassed to admit they shop at Walmart, but proud to say they found something cute at Target. By the early 90s, Target is growing faster than Kmart and approaching 1,000 stores. Kmart is trapped in the worst possible position. Too expensive to compete with Walmart. Too dowdy to compete with Target. The company occupies the undifferentiated middle. Their stores are neither the cheapest nor the nicest. Their merchandise is neither the best value nor the most fashionable. They are simply there, existing on momentum and habit. Customers shop at Kmart because they always have, because it is close to their house, because they do not feel like driving somewhere else. This is not loyalty. This is inertia, and inertia eventually stops. During Clinton's first term, Kmart launches a new advertising campaign. The tagline is, "The Stuff of Life." Celebrity spokesperson Rosie O'Donnell appears in commercials, her warmth and relatability meant to humanize the brand. The ads show families shopping together, finding deals, smiling as they load purchases into minivans. It is meant to evoke nostalgia and community. It mostly evokes pity. Everyone can see that Kmart is struggling. The commercials feel desperate, like watching someone at a party trying too hard to seem fun. 2 years later, Kmart signs a deal with Martha Stewart to create an exclusive home goods line. Martha Stewart everyday debuts in stores nationwide. The bedding and kitchenware and decorative items are meant to elevate the brand, to attract customers who view Kmart as low quality. The collection sells reasonably well, the products are competently designed and priced fairly, but you cannot fix a structural collapse with decorative pillows. No amount of branded towels can address the fundamental problem. The stores are still deteriorating. The checkout lines are still understaffed. The employees still look exhausted, because inside the stores, the decay is visible to anyone paying attention. The overhead lighting has yellowed over years of use, casting a sickly pallor over everything. Half the bulbs are burned out, creating patches of shadow. The flooring is scuffed and stained. In high-traffic areas, tiles are cracked or missing entirely, exposing concrete underneath. The metal shelving units are rusting at the joints. The shopping carts have wobbly wheels and broken handles. The merchandise is disorganized, thrown haphazardly on shelves by overwhelmed stock clerks who no longer care. Size tags are wrong. Price tags are missing. Products are in the wrong departments. The fitting rooms smell like sweat and desperation. The mirrors are warped. The doors do not lock properly. The bathrooms are particularly revealing. The toilets are often clogged. The sinks drip constantly. The soap dispensers are empty. The floor is perpetually wet with something you do not want to identify. The smell is a combination of harsh chemicals, neglect, and something organic slowly dying. Spending 30 seconds in a Kmart bathroom tells you everything you need to know about the company's priorities. They have stopped caring about the details that matter, about the small touches that make customers feel valued rather than merely tolerated. The employees can feel the decay as acutely as the customers. Their schedules are cut to reduce labor costs. A store that once had 5 cashiers on duty now has 2. The lines at checkout stretch back into the aisles. Customers wait 15 minutes to pay for their items. They complain. They abandon their carts and leave. The remaining employees are expected to do the work of 3 people. A cashier is also expected to monitor the fitting rooms, answer phone calls, and clean up spills. A stock clerk is also expected to help customers, work the register, and unload trucks. The pay has not increased. Health insurance has become more expensive and covers less. Retirement benefits have been quietly reduced. The workers are exhausted. They are angry. They are looking for other jobs. The turnover rate is catastrophic. New employees are hired and quit within weeks. They realize immediately that the job is harder and pays less than promised. The training is minimal. The support is non-existent. The management is stressed and short-tempered. Why stay at Kmart when Walmart pays the same? Why stay when Target pays more and treats people better? The answer is, you do not stay. You work at Kmart for a few months while looking for something better. The institutional knowledge that kept stores running smoothly evaporates. No one knows where anything is. No one knows the procedures. No one cares. And the rotating beacon, the beautiful symbol that once drew crowds like a carnival attraction. By the late 90s, it has become almost pathetic. The surprise sales still happen, but the enthusiasm is gone. The merchandise offered is increasingly junk. Clearance items that could not sell at regular prices. Damaged goods with torn packaging. Off-brand products no one wants. Clothing in sizes no one wears. Halloween decorations in February. Christmas items in July. The discounts are meaningless when the original prices were inflated. 40% off an item that should cost $5 anyway is not a deal. It is an insult. The crowds that once rushed toward the spinning light now barely glance up when the announcement plays. Sometimes only 1 or 2 people bother walking over. They pick through the sad pile of merchandise with expressions of disappointment. This is what the phenomenon has become, a reminder of better days, a ghost of excitement past. This is the second appearance of our leitmotif, the beacon in decline, still spinning, still promising, but the magic is gone, replaced by desperation. The millennium arrives with predictions of technological apocalypse that never materialize. The Y2K bug fails to crash civilization. But for Kmart, the apocalypse is not digital. It is structural. Sales are flat or declining in most markets. Profits are shrinking. The debt load from acquisitions is crushing. Walmart is not just ahead. It is accelerating into the stratosphere. Walmart operates over 3,000 stores and generates revenues exceeding $160 billion. Kmart operates 2,100 stores and generates revenues of $37 billion. The gap is widening daily. The following year, Kmart posts a net loss of $244 million. The stock price collapses from $15 per share to $4. Vendors become nervous. Suppliers who extended credit for decades now demand payment within 30 days. Some refuse to ship merchandise without cash up front. The banks smell blood. Credit lines are reduced. Interest rates increase. In boardrooms and analyst reports, the word is spoken carefully at first, then with increasing boldness. Bankruptcy. The executives try everything. They hire consultants who recommend store closures and cost-cutting. They launch new advertising campaigns that fail to move the needle. They bring in a new CEO who promises transformation. Charles Conaway implements massive layoffs, closes hundreds of stores, sells off the specialty retail acquisitions at losses, cuts employee hours and benefits, reduces inventory. The measures are brutal and necessary, but they are too late. Cutting costs does not fix broken infrastructure. Closing stores does not rebuild brand loyalty. Firing employees does not make customers want to shop somewhere depressing. January 22, 2002. Kmart Corporation files for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. It is the largest retail bankruptcy in American history at the time. The filing shocks the nation, even though it was predicted for months. Kmart, the giant, the institution, the company that employed 300,000 people and operated over 2,000 stores, bankrupt. The immediate cause is debt. Over $5 billion in liabilities that cannot be serviced with current cash flow. But the real cause runs deeper. Strategic failure, operational negligence, the slow accumulation of 10,000 small decisions that prioritized short-term stock performance over long-term sustainability. Bankruptcy protection gives Kmart breathing room, time to restructure, close unprofitable stores, renegotiate leases and supplier contracts. Over the next 18 months, Kmart closes over 300 stores. Entire regions are abandoned. Most locations in California shuttered, most in the Northeast. Rural markets that never made sense, small towns that had a Kmart as their only major retailer, watch the lights go dark. The going out of business sales are grim affairs. Everything must go. The fixtures themselves are sold. The shelving units, the checkout counters, the shopping carts, the rotating beacons. Liquidators buy entire store inventories for pennies on the dollar and resell them at going out of business prices that are often higher than Kmart's regular prices. The employees who lose jobs number in the tens of thousands. They are not executives who receive golden parachutes. They are cashiers and stock clerks and department managers, people who made $9 an hour and relied on Kmart for health insurance they could barely afford anyway. People who worked there for 10 years or 20 years or 30 years, who expected to retire from Kmart, who believed the company would always be there. They are given a few weeks' notice and a severance check that barely covers a month's rent. They file for unemployment. They search for new jobs in markets flooded with other former Kmart employees. They feel betrayed, used, discarded. 18 months later, Kmart emerges from bankruptcy. The restructuring is declared successful. The debt is reduced to manageable levels. The unprofitable stores are closed. The company is leaner and theoretically more competitive. The stock begins trading again. There is cautious optimism. Maybe Kmart can survive. Maybe this near-death experience will force the necessary changes. But then Eddie Lampert enters the story. Lampert is a hedge fund manager, not a retailer. His fund, ESL Investments, acquires a controlling stake in Kmart during the bankruptcy. Lampert is known for buying distressed companies, extracting value, and selling the pieces. He is not known for operational expertise or long-term vision. He is known for financial engineering, for making money regardless of whether the underlying business thrives or dies. 2 years after the bankruptcy, Lampert orchestrates a merger between Kmart and Sears. Sears, another struggling retail giant, another icon of American commerce, slowly collapsing under its own weight. The deal is valued at $11 billion. Sears Holdings Corporation is born. On paper, it makes sense. Two struggling retailers combining resources, eliminating redundancies, leveraging shared infrastructure. Kmart's discount model combined with Sears' appliance expertise and Craftsman tool brand. Complementary strengths, synergies. The buzzwords flow freely in press releases and investor calls. In practice, it is a marriage of corpses. Two companies that could not compete individually will not magically thrive together. Lampert's strategy becomes clear within the first year. He is not interested in investing in stores or employees or technology. He is interested in real estate liquidation. Kmart and Sears together own thousands of properties in prime locations. Shopping mall anchors, suburban strip mall keystones. The land is worth more than the stores operating on it. Lampert begins selling properties, leasing them back and pocketing the proceeds. He uses the cash to buy back stock and pay dividends to shareholders. Primarily himself. The stores receive less investment, not more. From 2005 to 2010, Sears Holdings, under Lampert's control, becomes a case study in corporate cannibalism. Maintenance is deferred. Technology upgrades are cancelled. Employee hours are cut to bare minimums. The stores decay visibly. Roofs leak and are not repaired. Air conditioning breaks and is not fixed. Shelving units rust. The merchandise selection becomes bizarre and random. Items that could not sell elsewhere are dumped into Kmart and Sears stores. Inventory management becomes even worse. Walk into a Kmart during the Great Recession and you are walking through an archaeological site. The merchandise is the same as it was a decade earlier. Generic clothing in outdated styles. Kitchen appliances that look like they were designed during the Reagan administration. Toys from discontinued product lines. The store layout has not changed in decades. The customer service desk is in the same location it was during the Cold War. The pharmacy is still behind a counter installed when cassette tapes were popular. The computer systems run on software that was outdated when it was installed. Cashiers still use registers with physical keys, not touch screens. Credit card readers require magnetic stripe swipes, not chips or taps. The break rooms are time capsules. Motivational posters from the 90s curl at the edges. Employee of the Month photos from years earlier still hang on walls. The refrigerator is ancient and sounds like a dying animal. The microwave door does not close properly. The coffee maker is perpetually broken. The furniture is cheap plastic chairs and folding tables bought during a previous administration. The walls are painted institutional beige with water stains spreading from ceiling tiles damaged in roof leaks that were never repaired. This is where employees spend their 15-minute breaks. This is what the company thinks of its workers. The employees themselves are few and overstretched. A Kmart that once had 40 employees on staff now has 12. They work understaffed shifts where one person covers what should be 3 positions. The expectations are impossible. The pay has not increased. The benefits are terrible. Health insurance has high deductibles and covers almost nothing. Paid time off is minimal. There are no raises, no bonuses, no incentives. The customers who remain shop at Kmart out of habit or necessity. Maybe it is the closest store. Maybe the prices on certain items are still marginally better. Maybe they have a Kmart credit card with a balance they are trying to pay down. But loyalty is gone. Pride is gone. No one brags about finding a deal at Kmart. No one tells their friends about a great shopping experience. Shopping at Kmart becomes almost shameful, an admission that you cannot afford better options. The experience is uniformly depressing. You walk through automatic doors that open slowly and make grinding sounds. The vestibule smells like stale popcorn from a snack bar that has not operated in 5 years. The overhead illumination is harsh and uneven. Half the bulbs are burned out. The flooring is scuffed with cracks and missing tiles. The shopping carts are damaged. Missing wheels, broken handles, seats stained with substances you prefer not to identify. You take one anyway because you need to carry your items. The aisles stretch before you in depressing sameness. Metal shelving units hold merchandise in no particular order. Clothing is jumbled on racks. Size tags are wrong. Items are in the wrong departments. You need batteries. The battery display is half empty. The remaining packages are dusty. You need light bulbs. The section has been rearranged and you cannot find what you need. There are no employees to ask. You search for 10 minutes before giving up. You approach the checkout. There is 1 register open out of 12. The line has 8 people in it. You wait and wait. The cashier is an elderly woman, moving at a pace that suggests every motion causes pain. The register is malfunctioning. It freezes between transactions. The cashier has to call a manager to reset it. The manager takes 5 minutes to arrive. The customers in line exchange looks of resignation. This is what shopping at Kmart has become. A test of patience, an exercise in lowered expectations, and the symbol that once defined the experience. The third and final appearance of our leitmotif. In most stores, the surprise sales have been discontinued entirely, a relic of a past no one wants to remember. The equipment has been sold or thrown away. In the few stores that still run them occasionally, the mechanism is broken. The bulb flickers and dims. The pole wobbles. The announcement plays on a loop through speakers that crackle and distort. The merchandise offered during these zombie sales is embarrassing. Damaged goods with torn packaging. Seasonal items from the wrong season. Halloween decorations in February. Christmas wrapping paper in July. Clothing in sizes that do not exist in nature. Children's toys from discontinued product lines. The packaging faded and dusty. No one gathers around the rotating symbol anymore. It sits in a corner of an empty aisle, spinning slowly, casting its dim glow on scuffed surfaces and rusting shelves, a ghost of what it once meant. The phenomenon has become a symbol of decay, a haunting, a reminder that magic dies when no one believes in it anymore. From 2010 to 2018, Kmart closes stores at an accelerating pace. 50 stores 1 year, 100 the next, 200 the year after. Each closure is a small death. The going out of business sales attract vultures and bargain hunters picking through the remains. Everything must go. The merchandise is marked down 50%, then 70, then 90. The fixtures are sold. The shelving units carried out by liquidators, the checkout counters, the shopping carts. The broken symbols of better days. Everything has a price when you are dying. The empty buildings become blight. Some are demolished, others sit vacant for years, their parking lots cracking, their windows broken, their facades fading in the sun. Drive through suburban America and you will find them. Former Kmart locations, now repurposed as Spirit Halloween stores for 6 weeks a year, and abandoned the other 46. Now, churches that bought the property for cheap. Now, trampoline parks. Now, storage facilities. Now, empty lots where grass grows through asphalt. The signs are gone, but the footprints remain. You can tell a building was a Kmart by its shape, the low-slung box, the massive parking lot, the position at the edge of a strip mall. These are the ruins of an empire. The employees who worked at Kmart for 20 or 30 years watch their pensions evaporate. Sears Holdings manipulates bankruptcy laws to shed obligations. Retirement plans that promised security deliver pennies on the dollar. A worker who contributed to a pension for 30 years expecting $20,000 annually receives $3,000. Union contracts that guaranteed modest protections are voided in court. Health insurance for retirees is cancelled. The people who staff the registers and stock the shelves are discarded as easily as unsold merchandise. October 2018. Sears Holdings files for bankruptcy again, the second bankruptcy in the combined company's history. This is the end. Or it should be. Lampert orchestrates a sale to a new entity he controls, Transform Holdco. A few dozen Sears and Kmart stores remain open. The pretense of retail continues, but everyone knows it is over. The stores that remain operate at minimal capacity with skeleton staff. They are not businesses. They are liquidation fronts, places to extract the last drops of value before turning off the lights forever. By 2021, only 15 Kmart stores remain open in the entire United States, 15 out of over 2,200 at the peak. By 2023, that number falls to 3. 3 Kmart stores in America, 1 in Miami, Florida, 1 in Westwood, New Jersey, 1 on the island of Guam in the Pacific. They are not stores in any meaningful sense. They are museums, anachronisms, places where you can still walk through aisles that smell faintly of plastic and dust, where the surfaces are original and cracked, where the checkout counters are the same ones installed decades ago. Visit one of these last stores and you will find a handful of customers. Elderly people, mostly, shopping out of habit or nostalgia, buying things they do not necessarily need because the act of shopping at Kmart connects them to a past when life made more sense, when America felt abundant and the future felt secure. The employees are kind and weary. They know the store will close eventually, maybe this year, maybe next. They have made peace with it. They do their jobs without enthusiasm, but without bitterness. They are witnesses to the end. The story of Kmart is the story of American retail in the late 20th century. A story of rapid expansion fueled by cheap credit and consumer demand. Of corporations that grew too fast and too large to adapt when the landscape shifted. Of executives who prioritized quarterly earnings over long-term sustainability. Of workers treated as disposable inputs in a machine designed to extract maximum value for shareholders. Kmart failed not because its customers abandoned it, though they eventually did. Kmart failed because it abandoned itself. The company stopped investing in the things that made it successful. Store experience, employee satisfaction, operational excellence, inventory management, technology infrastructure. It rested on past dominance while nimbler competitors out-innovated and out-executed at every turn. Walmart built a supply chain that Kmart could never match. Target created a brand identity that Kmart could never replicate. Amazon invented an entirely new way to shop that made big-box retail itself feel obsolete. Kmart did nothing. It simply existed, extracting value until there was nothing left to extract. There are lessons here for anyone willing to see them. That market share is not destiny. That past success does not guarantee future survival. That a company is not a monument built to stand forever. It is a living system that requires constant evolution and investment. When it stops evolving, it stops living. What remains is a shell, a facade, a brand name that once meant something, now printed on clearance signage in liquidation sales. The empire that seemed invincible in 1991 is dust in 2025. The stores that defined suburban shopping for 2 generations are gone. The rotating beacon no longer spins. The question Kmart's story demands we confront is this: what does it mean to build something that lasts? Not just a quarter, not just a decade, but truly lasts across generations and paradigm shifts. Kmart lasted 126 years from SS Kresge's first 5 and dime to the final bankruptcy filing. That is longer than most human lives, longer than most marriages, longer than many nations, but it did not last forever. Nothing does, nothing can. The fatal mistake was believing it would, that suburban America's appetite for discount merchandise was infinite, that growth could continue without end, that size conferred immortality. The ruins are still visible if you know where to look. In Troy, Michigan, near the headquarters that once commanded an empire, there is a building that was a Kmart decades ago. The sign is gone, the paint is peeling, the windows are boarded. Graffiti covers the walls, the parking lot is cracked and buckled, weeds growing through asphalt, but if you stand in that parking lot and close your eyes, you can almost hear it. The overhead illumination humming, the intercom crackling, the announcement playing, the rotating beacon spinning somewhere inside, the sound of shopping carts rolling, the beep of scanners, the rustle of plastic bags, the shuffle of feet, the small sounds of commerce that once filled these spaces with purpose and meaning. But open your eyes and there is only silence. Only concrete and broken glass. Only the wind moving through empty spaces where dreams of infinite expansion once seemed not just reasonable, but inevitable. Only the slow work of entropy reclaiming what humans built. The American dream itself feels like it is crumbling here. The promise that hard work and innovation would be rewarded. That a man with $8 in his pocket could build an empire. That the working class could shop with dignity. That there would always be a next quarter and a next year, and a next generation to expand into. Kmart is not gone entirely. Those 3 remaining stores keep the name alive technically. The trademark is still registered. The corporation still exists in legal documents. But a brand reduced to 3 locations is not a brand. It is a fossil, a marker of what once existed, a gravestone. Someday soon, perhaps this year or next, those final 3 stores will close. The last employees will be laid off. The last symbol will be switched off. The last announcement will echo through empty aisles. And then there will be nothing but memory. Stories told by people who remember shopping there as children, who remember their first job as a Kmart cashier, who remember catching one of those legendary sales and feeling the small thrill of victory. Photographs of storefronts in old albums, Kmart receipts preserved between the pages of books, Wikipedia entries, documentaries like this one, the accumulated fragments of a cultural presence that lasted decades and touched hundreds of millions of lives. The death of Kmart is the death of a certain kind of American promise. The promise that convenient locations and good prices and familiar routines were enough. That bigger was always better. That expansion justified itself. That tomorrow would look like today, only more so. That the machinery of commerce, once built and running, would continue perpetually. That promise is buried now under the rubble of failed corporations and shuttered stores. What replaced it is something faster and leaner and more ruthless. Amazon warehouses instead of suburban shopping centers. Algorithms instead of surprise sales. Efficiency instead of experience. Convenience instead of community. Perhaps that is progress. Perhaps it is simply change. But something was lost in the transition. The social function of retail. The weekly pilgrimage to Kmart was not just about buying towels and gardening supplies and children's clothing. It was about leaving the house, seeing neighbors in the aisles, making small talk with cashiers who recognized you, letting children sit in the shopping cart and beg for toys, teaching teenagers the value of $1 by making them work as stock clerks, feeling the small satisfaction of a good deal found, a bargain hunted and captured. That experience is mostly extinct now. We shop from our phones, from our couches. The merchandise arrives in cardboard boxes left on doorsteps by drivers we never see. It is more convenient, certainly, but convenience is not the same as meaning. Efficiency is not the same as connection. Kmart gave 3 generations of Americans a place to perform the ritual of shopping. It was never glamorous. It was never aspirational. No one dreamed of shopping at Kmart the way people dream of shopping at luxury boutiques. But it was there, reliable, accessible. The overhead illumination was harsh but bright. The surfaces were ugly, but usually clean enough. The employees were underpaid, but often tried their best. It was imperfect in the way most of American life is imperfect, functional, disappointing, strangely comforting in its mediocrity. It made no promises it could not keep. It asked nothing except that you bring money and take merchandise. The transaction was honest, even when the company behind it was failing. And now it is almost gone. The empire built by Sebastian sparing Kresge on the foundation of 5-cent and 10-cent stores. The suburban giant that employed hundreds of thousands and served millions. The rotating beacon that drew crowds for decades. All of it reduced to 3 stores and fading memories. All of it slipping into the past tense. All of it becoming history that future generations will need explained because they will have no direct experience of it. Stand in the parking lot of one of those last 3 Kmarts on a quiet Tuesday afternoon. Look at the faded sign barely visible against the sky, the cracked asphalt, the half-empty lot where once every space would be filled on a Saturday, the building itself showing its age in peeling paint and weathered concrete. Listen to the silence. This is what remains when the machine stops. When the quarterly reports end, when the shareholders move on to the next investment, when the workers find other jobs or retire or die, when the customers shop elsewhere and forget they ever shopped here. This is the archaeology of capitalism, the study of ruins, the autopsy of ambition. Kmart does not deserve romanticization. It was a corporation, not a charity. It paid low wages and fought unions. It exploited workers and extracted value from communities. It contributed to suburban sprawl and displaced local businesses. When it died, it took pensions and jobs and tax revenue with it. Its executives enriched themselves even as the company collapsed. Eddie Lampert extracted billions while stores rotted and employees suffered. There are no heroes in this story. No villains, really. Only people trying to survive and profit in a system that rewards short-term thinking and punishes long-term investment. But Kmart does deserve remembrance, not as a golden age to return to, but as a cautionary tale to learn from, as a case study in what happens when a company stops adapting, when management prioritizes extraction over innovation, when the customer experience becomes an afterthought, when employees are treated as costs to minimize rather than assets to develop, when technology investment is deferred until the infrastructure is so obsolete it cannot compete, when arrogance replaces humility and size replaces strategy. The rotating beacon is dark now. The aisles are empty. The shopping carts are rusting in salvage yards. The employees have moved on or retired or died. The customers shop at Walmart and Target and Amazon. The buildings stand empty or repurposed. What was built cannot be unbuilt. What was lost cannot be recovered. All we can do is sift through the wreckage and try to understand what it meant while it was still glowing. Try to extract lessons from the failure. Try to honor the people who worked there and shopped there and built their lives around the steady presence of discount retail. This is the final announcement. The store is closing. Please bring your purchases to the front. Thank you for shopping with us for 126 years. Thank you for the jobs and the paychecks and the pensions we will not honor. Thank you for the loyalty we did not deserve and did not repay. The rotating beacon is going dark. The doors are locking. The empire is ending, not with a dramatic collapse, but with a slow fade, a gradual dimming, a forgetting. This is what remains of $27 billion in annual sales, of 2,286 stores at the peak, of 370,000 employees, of millions of customers and billions of transactions and decades of cultural presence, a memory, a lesson. A ghost that haunts suburban parking lots and strip malls. The symbol spun for decades, promising deals and delivering small joys. It became part of American life as surely as anything can. And now it is silent. Now it is dark. Now it is gone. But if you drive through certain towns at dusk, if you look carefully at certain buildings, you can still see the outline where the sign used to be. The faint rectangular shadow against faded paint. The ghost of the red K against white concrete. The shadow of the giant. And in that shadow, if you know how to look and how to remember, you can see the whole story. The rise and the fall, the ambition and the hubris, the promise and the betrayal. The rotating beacon spinning eternal in memory even as the stores themselves crumble to dust. Kmart is gone, but not forgotten. Not yet. Not while people still remember. Not while the ruins still stand. Not while the stories are still told. The forgotten giant that once ruled Suburbia. The empire that believed it would last forever. The symbol that finally, inevitably, went dark. What remains is silence and ruins and stories. And perhaps that is enough. Perhaps that is all anything ever leaves behind. the forgotten, the remembered, the space between where history lives and dies and lives again in the telling.